Hi, James Foley here, author and illustrator of Stellarphant. And in the back of Stellarphant is the true history of animals in space. Now, Frank asks, what's one of the weirdest stories about space that you know? Good question, Frank. One of the weirdest stories I know was in 1961. It was the first mission of guinea pigs and frogs. Now, there was also a dog called Chonushka and a bunch of other plant and animal samples. And there was also a dummy called Ivan Ivanovich. You may have guessed at this point that this was a Soviet mission. It was called Sputnik 9. They should have called him like Russian McRussian face. Couldn't have gotten any more Russian. So this mission was very interesting because the dummy was taking the place of a human astronaut. But to save space inside the capsule, inside Sputnik 9, they had holes, gaps inside the dummy's body. And the cages that held the animals went into the sections of the body. So there was like a cage in the chest and a cage in the arms and a cage in the legs. And then they decided on the way back down through the Earth's atmosphere, they would test out the ejector seat. And so they ejected this dummy called Ivan Ivanovich and all the animals that were inside his body poof, out of the spacecraft, and it parachuted back down to Earth and landed in the snow outside a remote Russian village. Now, Ivan Ivanovich was quite a realistic looking dummy, like it even had eyelashes and hair. And they did all this sort of stuff because they wanted to test out what would happen to even like little hairs on the dummy if it was in space. There are villagers who heard this massive bang noise as the spacecraft came back down through the atmosphere and who saw this parachuting figure come down and found this body. They thought that this dummy was actually a real human being, and they thought that it must be some sort of Western American spy who'd been shot out of a spy plane and had landed here outside their village. Even though, if you opened up the dummy's face, in Russian, there was a piece of paper that said dummy across its face. They ignored this. They started beating the dummy up. They thought it was some Western spy. It wasn't until the Soviet scientists came along and found the drop zone, the site where the dummy had gone. They rescued the dummy and took it away, much to the confusion of these villagers. The animal survived. The dummy went on a couple more missions afterwards, same thing, still parachuted out successfully, and the dummy is on display in a museum around the world. You can go and see him. You can look him up too, Ivan Ivanovich. Great guy, I've had a beer with him. So, that's the true history of animals in space from Stellarphant. If you've got any more questions, put them in the comments below. We'll do our best to answer them.